Welcome to The Beat. I am Ari Melber joining you 12 days out from Election Day, hours away from one of the most high-stakes moments for President Trump, trailing in many polls, reeling from a new health care gaffe and a cash crunch. And tonight, here we are, the final presidential debate. Even more pivotal as Donald Trump bailed, of course, on the last one while he was contagious with coronavirus. Tonight, the candidates square off in person at this very stage you see right here in Nashville, with some new rules like a temporary mute button to control Trump's rule-breaking interruptions from the first debate. And Joe Biden raised that very issue today.
Hopefully he's going to play by the rules. Hopefully everybody's been tested. Hopefully it's all worked out this way the rules are. I'm looking forward to this.
He's looking forward, and there may be reasons why he's excited about coming out on that stage one more time, because in every way we can measure, Joe Biden is winning this air war on TV. His town hall recently outrated Trump, even as the president's was aired on more channels. Joe Biden drew better reviews in the first debate, which was much watched. 73 million people tuned in for that one. And Biden is on air more because his campaign is flush with cash, while Trump, running so lean, they're actually looking at, quote, taking out a loan or delaying bill payments in the home stretch, according to new reporting in the New York Times. Now, those metrics that I mentioned, they show preferences, which of course can change. Democrats are also banking on the apparent lead in the early vote, which doesn't change. These votes are in, and it tops a record-breaking 40 million ballots in battleground states that matter. Democrats building on an edge now, over 1 million votes, you see there, while Biden is up in most polls in the key states. All of that blue, although many of the leaves that you see as blue, we should note, are fairly tight at this point. Now, here on The Beat, I could tell you tonight, a big night in American politics, we have a very special show planned, including the top-ranking Democrat in the United States Senate, Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, here tonight on The Beat. New reporting on Russian interference with a New York Times reporter breaking that story late today. We just changed our story order for that news. So it's truly a big hour on the program, but we begin with our top political experts, Professor Jason Johnson, Washington Post reporter Libby Casey, and Robert Gibbs, who helped lead media strategy for Barack Obama's first campaign and served as his first White House press secretary. Welcome all. Jason, going right to you. The candidate who's behind tends to have more to prove at a debate. Is that pressure on Donald Trump tonight?
Yeah, Ari, it is. Donald Trump has to try to do something tonight that he's never been able to do, which is appeal to his base and then also expand that base. And that's going to be really challenging because tonight he's going to be muted. The crazy, outlandish things that he says that tend to be beneficial and excite his base, he's not going to be able to do it. He's going to be the clean version of a Donald Trump album tonight. Every time he tries to interrupt, every time he tries to say a lie, someone's going to block him. So this will be a very challenging night for him. I don't know if he has the skill set to do it, but if he can't at least change the media narrative after tonight's debate performance, this is all going to be a ground game. And right now he's behind both in cash and feet on the ground.
Robert, you've prepped these, and you know, whether you're going to admit it or not, Barack Obama and Donald Trump do have one thing in common as president. Maybe it's the only darn thing, but neither of them had their best first debate as an incumbent. We've certainly seen Obama in other debates do better than he did in that first one. And Trump, who, whether you like him or not, has at times been wide-ranging, quote-unquote funny, different styles in the primary debates with the Republicans. None of that. I mean, he came off terribly last time. He was haranguing, he was interrupting, he was negative, he was churlish, childish, you name it. Do you see Donald Trump, having advised people in these debates, these presidents, as you've done, turning any corner here, or is that hard for incumbents to do?
Well, look, I think the question boils down to, are we going to see a more disciplined Donald Trump tonight? And I think there's, 4+ years of evidence that makes that likely a pretty hard lift and a pretty big lift for him to do. Look, I actually think the Presidential Debate Commission is going to help him, and I don't mean that in a nefarious way. I think the mute button will help him in the sense that he's not going to seem, at least for those 2-minute answers, overly boorish and bullying in the answers like he did last time. I think that will help him. The question is tonight, can he press a case either against Biden that's disciplined about whether it's on the economy or what he's running on or what have you, and can he get people in this country, as was said earlier, to think differently about him as president. He has to come off as somebody who's different than we've seen in the past, somebody who makes you feel better about who he is as a leader. And that, to me, is the lift, again, that just seems somewhat unimaginable to see. It was a little easier to get Barack Obama back on track after, admittedly, a terrible first debate in 2012.
Yeah, and Libby, you have Robert Gibbs here making the gentle shading of Donald Trump that anything that produces less Trump, like a mute button, may be good for him. But that's a media strategy from someone who knows it well. Libby, what do you see tonight?
Well, that's about listening, right? That President Obama was listening to his counselors and advisors and course correcting. You know, we saw right after that first debate, Ari Fleischer go on Fox and Friends with a whiteboard with instructions to President Trump. And some were joking it was like their kids' Zoom classes, right? It was like interrupt less, 3-step. Let Biden flail and sum it up. Now, that was weeks ago, right? Has President Trump taken that, advice into his mind and his technique? It's highly unlikely. We will see if he can stay disciplined tonight. But what you're having is the war between what President Trump's own advisors know he should and potentially could do and what President Trump does as his fallback and what his routine is. But he is essentially the challenger here, even though he's the incumbent. And, he has to defend his record, even as he tries to sort of run as an outsider and run as this challenger. But it is his record that's on the line tonight that the moderator and that the nation will be asking questions about.
Yeah, it's the record. It's tens of millions of people watching, Jason. And the record, as Libby says, matters. And if you're concerned or cynical about that, the evidence is that even Donald Trump and many of the Republicans in the Senate have been speaking to the health care record because it turns out they found that parts of Obamacare, I wouldn't say necessarily all of it, but some planks of it are very popular, especially when people are thinking about health care in a pandemic. So they have spent weeks, we've covered this on the program, trying to claim they're for parts of Obamacare. We've done fact checks. That's not really true. They've obviously voted it down in the legislature, and they went further and are trying to get it reversed literally next month, okay? So there's that. Donald Trump comes out, and this is audio that is from his own interview in 60 Minutes. He made a big show of leaking it because he's beefing with Leslie Stahl. But now Trump flatly admitting, yes, he wants the Supreme Court to completely end Obamacare. Take a look.
We'll see what happens. I think it'll end. I hope that they end it. It'll be so good if they end it.
And if they end it,
because we will come up with a plan. Which will be yeah, we will.
But you said it would already.
We have large sections of it already done. And we've already come up with plans.
Jason, he's admitting it.
Yeah, and this has been clear all along. And Ari, we saw this in President Obama's rally in Pennsylvania, where he said, look, these guys want to destroy Obamacare, and they don't have a plan, and they don't have a suggestion. And here's, again, going back to what I said at the beginning about this mute button. Look, Donald Trump, when he has to talk about policy, fails. He only wins when he's loud and bombastic. He doesn't. His staff, if they're smart, look, don't save him. He doesn't want to be saved, right? He wants to be able to be loud and rude and obnoxious.
Your second reference.
Because if he's got to justify if he's got to justify his second term, he'll fail. So that's going to be a real challenge tonight. And healthcare is a major issue. Medicaid expansion is one of the single greatest reasons why Joe Biden is as competitive as he is with white voters, because a lot of working class white voters and a lot of working class Black and Latino voters liked Medicaid expansion, and they don't want to see it taken away by a second Trump administration.
Right, and that's a plank for states who participate in Obamacare. And again, Robert, my job here is not to tell people how to vote. But my job is to report the facts that may relate to their voting. So if you're wondering which candidate supports the current health care laws that provide the funding and the mechanistic support at the state level for health care, for the insurance market, for the pre-existing condition protection, which Donald Trump has said is a good thing, claims he's for, you read it on your screen right now. Brand new from President Trump, Robert. I hope they end Obamacare, and his DOJ is the one that brought it to the Supreme Court, is pushing that plank. And so, Robert, I guess you imagine if Mitch McConnell were in the interview room with 60 Minutes, he would hope that he had a debate moderator mute button, because he'd want to mute Donald Trump admitting and giving the game away 12 days out.
Yeah, but I think in some ways Mitch McConnell is complicit in this. I mean, we have, as President Obama said last night in Philadelphia, we've been waiting for the replace of repeal in place every 2 weeks for a decade. Okay, it's become the new infrastructure week. All right, we're waiting. We're still waiting. You know, Chris Wallace was told it was going to be signed in 2 weeks. You know, apparently President Trump and his staff handed Leslie Stahl, sorry, a giant binder of all of their plans. It's being written. Large sections are done. I mean, this is more top secret than anything that the Trump administration has done over the past 4 years. We haven't seen it. And there's a reason why you haven't seen it. It doesn't exist. Right. It hasn't existed on the Republican side for a decade. And I will tell you this, it's pretty remarkable to watch, and I think people should pay attention to this. The Republicans have gone to great lengths over the past 2 weeks to tell people that this Supreme Court case about Obamacare and pre-existing conditions isn't going to overturn anything. It's not real. Yep. Okay? You just heard it from Donald Trump. 18 attorneys general have brought this case. Okay? This wasn't written by a bunch of first-year law students. This is 18 attorneys general, and there's a strategy to overturn it. There's not a strategy to replace it.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. And you like an infrastructure week to the missing replace plan, which is something I guess they both have in common with Godot. I'm turning to plays because I've run out of lyrics, Robert.
We're waiting
Libby, we're all waiting. Libby, 60 Minutes does get these big interviews going into the last weekend as people make up their minds, people watch the debate. I want to show some of the Biden part where Leslie Stahl was also pushing him for what she thought was him overselling the economy and other things. Take a look.
If elected, what I will do is I'll put together a national commission of bipartisan commission of scholars, and I will ask them to, over 180 days, come back to me with recommendations as to how to reform the court system.
So you're telling us you're going to study this issue about whether to pack the court?
No, whether there's a number of alternatives that go well beyond packing. The last thing we need to do is turn the Supreme Court into just a political football. Whoever has the most votes gets whatever they want.
Let me ask you what you think the biggest domestic priority is for you right now.
Well, ultimately, let me, and I'll tell you, it was happening. We created the greatest economy in the history of our country, and the other side was coming in.
You know that's not true.
It is totally true.
No. Well, I asked you, what's the priority? I mean, those are all the good things. What do you have to solve?
The priority now is to get back to normal, get back to where we were.
Libby?
Well, I mean, everyone would like to get back to normal, right? So I think the question is, can Joe Biden talk about the economy that he and President Obama, were creating, and if he can tell that narrative of what they inherited and what they were able to do in their 8 years, and, can they get to something more other than Donald Trump just saying, I created a great economy, let's all get back to normal. The court issue that you played is also so interesting. Biden has to keep his options open for what to do. He is a traditionalist, a creature of the Senate, but he can't close the door to the idea of court packing. He can't close the door to what comes next. So he's trying to thread that needle, and at least he's come out with a plan now, so he's got a response ready. We can predict what he's going to say if that's asked about by Kristen Welker tonight, or if President Trump tries to criticize him on it.
Yeah, you could definitely see it coming up tonight. It's a partial punt, but it's important. It's big on the table, given what's going on in the Senate. We have Chuck Schumer on tonight, and that's a big issue there as well. I want to thank Libby, Jason, and Robert for joining us on such a big news night. We are going into our shortest break of the hour.